Hello. Hello. Good evening. Good evening. I'm coming to you live from outside City Hall. This is, I believe it's week 11 of the City Market season, week 11 of the City Market protests, and no, it's also tomorrow is July 31st, and that marks the 1-year anniversary of the first arrest of the City Market season last year. And my experience of the July 31st arrest is completely different from yours. So what is your thoughts as, this year comes up and to think about it's been a year since these arrests, and what's your thoughts overall?
So overall, I think that it being the 1-year anniversary, of all of us having been assaulted by the police, battered by the police, wrongfully arrested and wrongfully incarcerated for various periods of time. I think, that's going to be a very traumatic experience for all of the people who had to go through that, all of the people who had to take a plea and is currently going through some type of conditional release or probation, or whatever everybody chose. Everybody's having to go through that now and reflect on where they are a year from the incident that kind of tore up their lives over the last year. I think that for people who are still dealing with the aftermath of that, like myself, Leslie, Terry, we're still all having to go to court for cases that we were charged with, or crimes that we were charged with on that day. My trial has been set to the end of September, or for now it'll be the end of September, but of course there'll be some reason for continuance, or hopefully they just drop the charges altogether because there's no reason for them. But I think that obviously since tomorrow is the 31st and we won't be having any trials tomorrow, or it's not going to be over by tomorrow. This will be the 1-year anniversary of my life being completely different. For me, this was a felony charge, so I spent a weekend in jail, which is not something I've ever had to do. So automatically, off bat, that was a traumatic experience, and that's something that's had affected me for the past year. Something that I'm still dealing with a year later. Being on bond, not being able to leave the state, to freely travel to.
What platform are you on?
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah. Not being able to just be free and go anywhere because I was the victim of a crime, and now they're trying to prosecute me for exercising my rights. So I think that a year is gonna affect everyone differently, but I know that everyone who had any involvement in being arrested or being a part of that protest, I don't think that that's something that coming up on a year anniversary tomorrow they're just going to kind of let go by without reflecting on what their experience was on this day a year ago.
If you think where things were leading up to that, it has at times reminded me of the lead up to this year, but it's a different type of feeling because it's I don't know what it is exactly. City Market is a different type of thing this year. Just the streets shut down, so just trying to mainly it's a chess game. It's a chess game. You see what you can do and what we can't do to have some type of presence there and some type of some type of period of where people just stop and listen to some of the things that are going on. Right. But for recently, we have seen more people more willing to listen, and people, children coming over, and the parents are coming over and holding up a sign and really listening. And one of them just sat down and listened for like 30
Racial injustice
30
and police
minutes.
brutality.
So
Yes.
that has been a good thing to see, but it's also been damn, that's great. But today during the city market, there were two racist antagonizers, two different racist antagonizers. One of them was laughing at the fact of some of the photos of Denzel and some of the photos of Faustin Goitigo, saying you're a joke or some things like that. So, but that just goes to show the type of culture that City Market holds, the type of vibe it is out there, to where these people can do these type of things and openly have these racist actions and there be no type of consequence. It's a culture and it's an environment that City Market has enabled and has wanted to have. And what do you think just about, it's been a year and you can't even, they've not allowed you to participate in the City Market protest this year due to the no contact with them.
So what is the question?
So you can't participate this year because no contact. How do you feel about the fact that you can't participate?
Oh, it's a clear violation of rights, and we know it's a clear violation of rights. When you penalize or try and punish with, frivolous charges, vague charges, widely encompassing charges, when you just kind of pick those out of thin air and decide to arrest people for that just so you can violate their rights, so you can make it seem like they committed a crime, and the punishment for exercising your rights is going to be, we're going to take your rights away, and say you can't assemble anymore, you can't petition anymore, you don't have the right to free speech. Like, it's alarming. And for me, it's honestly alarming, like, how they're just getting away with it, because some members of the community have decided that they don't care for what we have to say. And, it's becoming very clear that, I don't like how this is covering up my whole mouth. It's become...
Keep going.
It's becoming very clear. Oh, a terrible person. Anyways, it's becoming increasingly clear that they're being selective about who's allowed to share what message. Because, you know, there's people that are within the city market parameters that are exercising their rights, that are soliciting. And, you know, that's supposedly one of the rules of city market this year. You're not supposed to solicit. You're not supposed to protest. But if it's, you know, not our message, then they're okay with that. But if it's our message and, you know, people are saying what we have to say, then it's no longer considered a free speech zone. Then it's no longer considered an area where you're allowed to assemble. So, I just, you know, I think it's crazy that they're just doing it right in front of everybody, and because people would rather not have to see us because they don't agree with what we're saying, they would rather give up their own rights. And that's not, like, the first time I've come across that idea. Because back when we were reading, I forgot what book we were reading, but it was talking about how many houses basically the police have broken into and, you know, did their little no-knock raids, the same kind that ended up getting Breonna Taylor murdered. So they're talking about doing these no-knock raids and the amount of botched raids they have, the amount of wrong addresses that they have and everything. And it got to the point where they were kind of like turning up some things here and there. And, you know, 1 out of 10 houses ain't bad. For, you know, if they're looking for drugs, 1 out of 10 houses ain't bad. But people were really like buying this idea that they're really protecting the community by getting, you know, a few drug dealers off the street, but breaking into the homes of 30 innocent families while they find 2 houses with, you know, drugs in it. So people really subscribe to this idea, though, that they're safer with the police breaking into 30 homes to find those 2 homes that have drugs in it than they would be if they just allowed those 2 drug dealers to stay where they were at and nobody got their homes broken into. So, you know, when I see people that are like, yeah, no, those are a real thing. When I see people that are like, we don't care that the police are violating your rights, you know, tread on thee, not me. We don't care that the police are going to violate your rights because we don't care what you have to say. But it's going to be real woe is me when they try to get their message out and all of a sudden they're seen like the bad guys, which is the stance for a lot of people on the January 6th. Some people call it riots. Some people call it terrorist attack. Some people just call it a protest. But, you know, it's the same people that are sitting there, oh, BLM is terrorists, they're burning buildings down, they're attacking the police, they're doing this, they're doing that. But all of a sudden, when they want to do those things and call it free speech, oh, now, you know, their rights are being violated. When we were marching in the street and they were telling us, you know, that we're terrorists and boarding up stores and closing stores down early, entire grocery stores, acting like we're, you know, some type of violent group, and then turn around and actually display and support shows of violence under the guise that it's, your protected free speech or your protected right to assemble or to protest or whatever. Like, that's extremely hypocritical. So I just, I think that's one of the craziest things about the entirety of City Market, really. All of what's going on, not just with our no contact orders that they're dishing out now, but just the entirety of them using every possible tactic that they can think of to use to violate our rights, and people are just cheering them on because they don't like what we have to say. So I just, it always reminds me of there's a quote that's like, when they came for black people, I didn't say anything because I'm not black. When they came for the LGBT community, I didn't say anything because I'm not a part of that community. When they came for, differently abled people, I didn't say anything because I'm differently abled. Now everybody is gone and they, they're trying to come for me and I have nobody to back me up. So that's loosely quoted, but that's the gist of it. I'm gonna pass it back.
No, don't say that. Can I get that on the speaker? No. Fuck the
stop.
police. Fuck the police. Fuck them.
I do agree with that message, though.
We're sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. If she would have said back the blue, I would have had a problem, but she said fuck the police, so. What you gonna do?
There's too many white people in here.
What you gonna do?
And there's too many white people in the vicinity. And when you get that many white people together, they start doing this real weird shit. Like, that just happened twice in this one video. Like, y'all see the weirdo shit they be on?
Okay. We get into a different place now. We can do a different place. Okay. But if we was to, the main thing, one of the biggest things, I don't know if I got it on no. That happened during the Sydney Market protest this week was I was given a noise citation, nuisance. They said it was a nuisance, and that's it came up and said you use the siren. You use a siren. You can no longer use a siren. If you use a siren again, you're gonna be arrested. And the cop go, "You've been warned." Some of the shit they be doing is hilarious. But it was a noise citation. He ended up giving me a noise citation. So that was maybe the biggest thing, and that just go to show. Just a small example of the city's exploitation tactics that we have seen countless times. So where it's they're trying to profit off the memorials now. They're trying to profit on the fact that there are memorials down here, to where they can come tear them down and fine us thousands and thousands of dollars. Terry says it's close to $500,000. So, and that's just one example where we see every time we go in there, we have to wait, and the entire time we have to wait. We're the last one to go always. And just a small example of, I saw it was a case where one woman, she what happened? She owned an apartment complex, but it was vacant. And some fireworks had gotten lit off at the apartment complex, but she wasn't there. She didn't know nothing about it. She was in a totally different place, and they still ruled it liable. Still ruled it you have to pay the city money, and that's the type of kangaroo court it is up in there, to where Terry do this every time we go in there. Terry say, Terry asks everybody in there if they work for the city, and they all say yes. Is a much city employees as determining whether you got to pay the city money. Of course, they're gonna rule it liable. Of course, they're gonna take money from any type of offense, any type of petty offense. And how much do you know? Do you know how much you think of the memorials? How much did you get fined?
It's been a bunch of times in like different amounts every time, like different amounts of polls. We kind of went over it in the recap yesterday, but they'll come around and tear down the memorials, and then we'll have the police come to try and serve ordinance violations. But then we'll also mail them to our houses. So, you know, it's first of all, why have the police come? What's the point of having the police come? For what reason? Why do the police need to be involved in this? You call the police to have them hand us a piece of paper. You can't walk out the front door, hand us a piece of paper. Y'all can't have the security guard that you send out front all the time to be all up in our fucking business. Y'all can't send him out to hand us some piece of paper. It's like, why do you have to call people with guns? Like, what do you think is going to happen? You think you're going to go to hand us a piece of paper and we're going to, like, deck you or some shit? Like, what logically, what's going on in your mind other than your intentionally using the police, weaponizing the police as a scare tactic? What is it going to matter to us if one of y'all just walk out and hand us a piece of paper? Oh, but you think that it's going to matter to us if the police get called? If we have to fear, you know, this is a retaliation for us protesting. You're trying to weaponize the police against us. That's a clear message. You hire people. There's people that go out to people's houses and tell them that they violated a city ordinance. They're called code enforcement. Yes, fuck code enforcement. Y'all some bitches. But, you know, that's literally a job for some people in there, is to serve ordinance violations. Go to people's houses, go to where people are at, go to their place of business, go to wherever they violated, you know, this ordinance at, and go and give them these papers. Or they just do what they did after they had the police come and serve us. Mail it to our houses. If you're going to mail it to our houses, with like, now you done wasted paper, you done... Jeez. My goodness. I keep hearing these screeching noises. Like, I'm just waiting for this giant crash, giant pile up. Anyways.
Hopefully.
People drive crazy. But dang, what was I saying? Now you got me off topic. Oh, I was talking about the code enforcement assholes. If you got people that it's made to do this job, and they go around and they serve these papers, like, why not send those same people, just tell them to come hand us a piece of paper? Like, you called somebody with a gun, now you've abused. Like, that's not what the police is for. The police shouldn't be for that. I'm gonna say they use the police for anything, but the police shouldn't be for that. That shouldn't be what a entity of police does, is serve people fucking pieces of paper. If that's what they're for, we don't need them. They wasted paper sending it 3 different, places. And that it's just a big waste. They got so many people involved to even take down the memorials in the first place, and to, do all this extra shit. And then they think they're really gonna get like $500,000 in ordinance violation fines from us. which is really fucking comical, hilarious. And then when they do the ordinance violations, there's 15 polls in total. But I don't think any of us have ever gotten the same amount of polls. I mean, they'll tell you that it's like $7.50 a day for each violation, and each poll is a violation. So $7.50 each day for each poll. But every time they do it, like, I'll have like 9 and he'll have 6 and Terry will have 11 and Leslie will have, 3 or, some random number. And it's like there's 15 up. Sometimes it'll be like half of us won't even participate in putting them up, and like the other person who didn't even touch the polls will get like all of the violations. And it's like, how did you come up with these numbers? Who really sat there? Like, are they going through videotape footage? How much time is that taking up? Are they like going back and making sure they get all the footage of who is putting up what memorials, and then they're still getting it wrong? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their motivation behind it is obviously money, but I don't know what their brain power behind it is, because it just, like, who thought of that? Who coordinated that? Who got that together? Who put that together? Who decided that, some of us were going to get this many, some of us were going to get this many? And then, like, to top it all off, they went through and did all, the unnecessary work, and then they're going to pass off, literally the passing of the paper off onto somebody else. They're going to go through all of that, watch through cameras, type in the paper, switch out the names, do all this, get all the ordinances, signed ordinance violation numbers, and do all of this stuff. And then once they're finally done, they won't even have no satisfaction in passing off their handiwork. Like, that's the most important part, is like serving the violation. You would think that they would be like, oh yes, here, I just hot off the press just printed up this ordinance violation for you. But they call the police to do it just for just to try and make us feel some type of way. Where's the brain power?
So, okay. So we are at day 301, right? Day 301, not 302 yet, right? 301. And what are we saying with what you were saying about just the needless use of police, the needlessness of the police? Made me think of the orders of protection that have been issued recently. The fact that you got issued not one but twice from the same people and the same employees.
Yes. After they didn't show up. I want to be clear. They did not show up for the emergency order. And then the judge dismissed it. And so the next morning, they went and they got another order of protection, and the same judge granted it, an emergency order. Hello. So it's just like, it's just what's the word I want to use here? It's just absurd. It really is. It's just absurd that, and after I asked the judge too, like, is this a tactic that they're going to use now? Or are they just going to keep going and getting emergency orders and then not showing up for court? And the judge was like, no, if they file for one again, then it'll be set for a date like we're doing now, and like it'll be heard out, and you know, we'll decide if they are trying to abuse the system or whatever. And then the next morning, like not even 24 hours later, he's granting another order. Like, we just talked about this. The fuck are you doing? You just said that you weren't going to allow them to keep doing this, and then allowed them to keep doing it. But yeah, I think it's all absurd. I think it's absurd. I think it's crazy how they went and put the exact same thing. There's other people that went then and got an order. I have 2 separate people that work inside there that these other guys don't have. So the Georgine? Whatever the fuck her name is, the old racist white bitch that worked at Rockford Orthopedic, and her ugly ass son, grown ass man child that works there as well and is also racist, they went and also got no contact orders against myself and then everybody else that's down here. And the shit they say in there is just like blatantly false. There's shit in there that says that, you know, first of all, a lot of it's verbatim. It's like the same exact verbatim comments about incidences that have happened, but in each person's no contact order that they applied for, they switched the name and the pronouns. So when they were, you know, writing about mine, pretty much they put she, her, and my name. And then when they wrote about the guys, they, you know, put their names, and then they put he, him, his, or whatever. So I think that's crazy too, that like who did what then? Who did what? If you're trying to say that this person came and wrote this racist ass store, and then every single person says that they came and wrote this racist ass store, have we all at some point written that? Or are you saying that we all wrote it that day? Or like, what's the logic behind that? Because 4 people can't write one thing. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. So they're obviously lying. Like, we didn't all fucking do something, so why are you saying all of us, you know, did this? What was the other thing?
Deterrent.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that shit. I don't want to talk.
You don't want to talk about
But I just want to say that they're fucking racist. At Rockford Orthopedic, they are racist.
it. Go to Ortho, Illinois.
Yes,
Go
go
to-
to Ortho, Illinois.
Or Ortho, Illinois. Not owned by the same company. Not the same thing. Not the
It's
different
not no
things.
type of ad or nothing. We didn't get paid to say that. We just think genuinely, if you care about your mental health and your conscience, then recommend people don't go to Rockford Orthopedic, and don't go to Rockford Orthopedic yourself. Go to Ortho, Illinois.
But okay. And that is the very nature of these no contact orders. It don't. I don't think these these people in these stores thought of these no contact orders on their own.
Oh yes, the city helped them. We know the city helped them. Half of y'all watching, you don't even know my name. Who am I? They just call me that lady. How are these random ass people like we don't know these people from fucking Adam? These random ass people know my name. Fuck no. Fuck no. Like, that's insane. Like, you don't just fucking know me. You don't know me. I don't know you. Like, there's no way you just know my fucking name. Like, that's absurd. That's absurd. I'm sorry. That's absurd. They asked the city, or they called the police and asked the police what our names were to be able to do this. Which, you know, the police, they work for the city. So even if it was the police or it was city workers that work in City Hall, they're still employees of the city of Rockford. So either way, the city of Rockford, like, the city fucking gave them our names. The city gave them our names. So, like, this is obviously a fucking plan. Just like their shit that they're trying to do on top of getting us out from protesting at City Market. They've obviously been trying to get us out from protesting here outside of City Hall. Like, the city it was a plan with the city. It was always a fucking plan with the city. The city helped them in some kind of way. And then, you know, they took it and ran with it and got their plan right on track.
They asked for 100 feet. They asked for
300 feet.
Asked for 300 feet for you.
On different ones.
I think for me they asked for 100 feet, which they were denied. We are 50 feet away. We are currently 50 feet away. No, we are.
Not that it's lawful that we even have to stay 50 feet away, because, like I said, this was planned with the city to try and get us out of here. They know that we didn't they wrote on everybody's paper that we defaced their property. These are public sidewalks. Nobody ever defaced their property. We wrote on the sidewalk with chalk. Like, let that be clear. And that's why they were even granted this shit in the first place, because they went in there and she cried her little white woman tears. They all cried their little flock of white woman tears. And they went in there and said, "Oh, I feel like my life is in danger. They're defacing our property. They're almost getting violent with the police. We're so scared." Well, nobody's defacing your property, first of all. We're riding on public sidewalks with chalk. And anybody who is almost getting violent with the police would be looking like Denzel or worse. That's not to say that Denzel had gotten violent with the police. But that is to say that they are looking for a reason. And if any of us were almost violent with them, they would all be on the same page that they most certainly have one now. If we were truly almost violent with the police, they would not hesitate. This man came out here and told Leslie, when he was talking about how he was a house nigga, told him he wouldn't say it to him out of uniform. They are looking for a reason. And if any of us were almost violent with them, it would give them one. Everybody would be on board. Tom McNamara, that would be the first time he said somebody's name. That would be the first time he said somebody's name. If Terry had got his ass beat for almost being violent with the police, or Ari had allegedly almost got violent with the police, they would have beat his ass. They have deemed him the most violent protester.
Don't spread that message.
Which he is not.
Don't spread that message.
We don't agree with that. But I'm saying, if it would have been him and he were really being almost violent with the police, they would have their reason and it would be all fucking hands on deck. So you can't sit here and say that we almost got, each of us individually across the board on all of our different papers almost got violent with the police. Our asses would have been in jail. So that's clearly not even true. So again, they went in there and they cried their white woman tears saying, these people are violent with the police and they're defacing our property, and they sit outside, they park their cars outside our store all day, every day. That's where the parking spots are. Like, it's a public street. And it's not like we're parking in like disabled handicap spots or anything like that. Like, they're just free game 2-hour parking spots, and every 2 hours we move our car to a different parking spot. So they can't even say all day, every day. Like, the cars can't be parked there all day. They'll be ticketed. So, like, what? But they went in there and they said all that stuff, and they cried their white woman tears and said, we feel threatened for our lives. Oh, my grown-ass son, who's 30-some years old, he fears for his life, too. He needs to be a protected party. Like, y'all lied and you made this up and you're centering yourselves. You know, the protest wasn't even about them. When we came out, they even said on there, they admitted to, not they admitted to, they accidentally admitted to, but what they actually wrote was that, we write slurs against them in chalk on the sidewalk, including fuck the police. This store is racist. Speaking of fuck the police, they just drove by. Writing things in chalk like fuck the police, this store is racist, the whole world is watching. 2 out of 3 of those things ain't even about you. And, you know, for you to try and center yourselves in saying that we're writing shit against you because we said fuck the police, the noun is right there. It's the police. The police are the ones that we're saying fuck to. Like, how is that against you? Make it make sense. And, you know, the whole world is watching. That's a grab from the Chicago 7, Trial of the Chicago 7, which is really the Chicago 8, but they don't want to include Bobby Seale, I guess, even though he suffered the worst of it. But, anyways, it's just, you know, it's a grab from that, saying the whole world is watching, basically. You know, all eyes are on what you're doing right now. We have cameras, you know, this can go, literally, this can go all over the world. The whole world can literally be watching. And you know, when you get high profile cases like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, like, the whole world really is watching. Like, you know, they were in the UK. I'm sure they were in the UK talking about this. I'm sure they were in places like Australia talking about this. I'm sure they were in places like Canada talking about this. Like, the whole world really is watching. And that was, you know, a reference to that Netflix movie. And just about the general, like, state of the American policing system and the American judicial system, you know, just in its entirety. Like, the whole world is watching. All of it. All of the different cases, all of the way that policing works. I've seen people, like, from New Zealand or Sweden or, you know, places where they have a little more progressive systems in place, especially revolving around crime and incarceration and things like that. To see them talking about, you know, actually making comments about how the American education system or how the American system of criminal justice, how all of those systems work, and for them to, like, talk shit about it and being like, oh yeah, this is how it is in America, but like actually be right, and us, you know, looking at it having to admit like, yeah, no, they're actually right. We're actually really shitty in that way. Like, America's really fucked up. Is just crazy. Like, the whole world really is watching. The whole world really is seeing, like, the absurd things that go on here. So for them to, like, center themselves and be like, oh, yeah, the whole world is watching you. Like, it's way fucking bigger than you, and you weren't even the target of that message. So they like completely centered themselves and made it seem like this had anything to do with them. Like, we park our cars there because it's convenient parking right across from City Hall, directly across from City Hall. It's the nearest parking to where we are. It's the nearest available parking to where we sit outside of City Hall. So for them to center themselves, oh, they're parking outside our store. Yes, and what about it? It's free parking. It's public parking. It's a public road. And it happens to be directly across from where we're trying to be at to protest. For them to center themselves and be like, oh, the whole world is watching messages, or the fuck the police messages, those are about us, those are targeting us, those are slurs used against us. Like, it's not even about you. It had nothing to do with you. You made it about you. So I think all of it is just absurd. I think it's an attempt made with the city to try and hinder our expression of rights, just as they've been trying to do over the last year. Well, way longer than that, but for, you know, the May 30th Alliance and those involved and still involved in the direct actions and the protests and mutual aid and things like that after we've seen a big expansion and public awareness. I'm just using over the last year.
Okay. And that wraps it up. Week 11 of City Market, day 301. Ready for day 302.
Fuck Rockford Orthopedic, they racist.
Arthur, Illinois.